The process of me getting my autism diagnosis. I'm going to try and make this really long story short enough. I will try. So, there were many signs that I was autistic. That's a whole other video. And I had started writing them down. I had started noticing more and more and more. They'd started commenting on them, and I, with the people around me, had started connecting the dots and realised that there was a chance that I was autistic. I, being me, wrote. And I wrote my poor psychiatrist that I was under a 12-page letter of all of these things that I'd noticed. Then my parents also wrote all the things that they'd noticed. And I discussed with my nurse at the time the things that I had noticed, and they thought that there was a high probability that I was autistic. We ended up having a meeting with my psychiatrist at the time, and we sort of said, I think there's a chance that I'm autistic, and I was very much, I'm really not too sure. I was really scared to bring it up and really scared to suggest it. So I had already emailed her the letter that I had written, which she'd read, and she had quite clearly agreed with a lot of what I'd said. I think also I'd been under mental health services for a number of years and very much taking a wider look at my mental health and how I was doing and what I struggled with and what I didn't struggle with. Autism was really likely. So what happened at that point is they put in for an official referral for an assessment for an autism diagnosis. Now, this varies around the country, but in my current area and a number of years ago that it was, I really hope that it's changed, but it might not have. The referral from time of referral to assessment was 3 years minimum. So over the next 2 years, I had a number of forms I had to fill out. I think they were sort of screening questionnaires. So I had to answer lots and lots of questions. Then my parents also got questionnaires they needed to fill in, and they had to answer lots of questions about what I was like when I was very young, when I was a child, my developmental history. Then about 6 months before my autism assessment, my mum had an assessment, not for her, for me, phoned mum for basically a developmental history of what I was like as a child and all of that kind of thing. And then after that, we got a call, after waiting for years and years for this assessment, got a call saying, okay, we're kind of ready to see you next week, which was good and bad in a way. Bad in that I like things to be planned and to have time to prepare for them, but good in the way that I think if it had been a longer space of time, I would have really freaked myself out about it. I think I want to do a whole other video about what the assessment was like and kind of what I had to do as part of the assessment. But long story short, I had my autism assessment and I got my diagnosis there and then. Now, I think some things I would have wanted to know before I'd started the process is I would have wanted to know just quite how long it would have taken. The waiting list currently in my area, like I said, is 2 to 3 years. And that's nothing that I necessarily could change, but knowing and understanding that that's how long it would take from being referred for an assessment to getting an assessment is really important to know. I hope that kind of explains the process for me from referral to my assessment. I will do a whole other video about the assessment. I think that deserves a whole video. But yeah, in short, I was already under mental health services. I was already under a consultant psychiatrist for my mental health. So we spoke to them about the fact that we were considering autism. They agreed that autism would explain a lot of how I was presenting and what I'd struggled with. And they referred me from an assessment from mental health services. It went into the referral thing. That was the many years waiting for that assessment. I then got my assessment and got my diagnosis on the day of my assessment. The assessment, by the way, you might want to know, is long. It's over half a day. It's just an important factor. But if anyone's got any questions, then just pop them in the comments.